Jordan, can you talk about your impressions and your preparations for Erin Hills this week?
Yeah, similar to other majors and other U.S. Opens. Nothing's really changed. Nothing. I don't think you have to adapt too much to this course. Any different clubs or ball flights or whatnot. Hopefully the weather stays away and it can play, firmer and faster, which I think is pretty cool for this place. It was pretty brown when we played it in U.S. Amateur, and I thought it was fun that way. I think it's a really well-designed golf course, and we've had a good time preparing. Game feels like it's in good shape.
Any, as you've gone through your preparations over the last few days, anything that has stuck out, when you look at 2011, in addition to the conditions as compared to now?
Well, it's weird. I don't remember much from 2011. I remember the closing 4 holes, and then each hole starts to kind of reappear when I go out and play it. But I remember number 1, and I remember the last 4 prior to getting here on Saturday, and so needed to do some extra work. That was 6 years ago, and didn't do the same kind of homework that I do these days with golf courses. So there's a few changes. I think number 3's green has significantly changed, and maybe another one somewhere around maybe number 9. But it still feels like a pretty new golf course to me. It's going to play different with the fescue right off of the rough, and the difficulty in staying extremely focused off the tee and not hitting any foul balls, because there's essentially two water hazards, two hazards on each side of every single hole. So you have a wide enough area in between to where it's fair and yet tough. But if you hit it into that stuff, there's a chance you'll just have to hit back to the fairway with pretty much taking a penalty stroke, and you might get a chance to hit the green. So I think it's a well-designed, well-bunkered golf course with a bunch of tee box options. It's kind of tough to prepare because there's 3 or 4 tee boxes on almost every hole that we could be playing from. So we'll just get out there and I'm doing a lot of work around the greens, and other than that, just see what they give to us.
In what ways does this feel like a U.S. Open, and are there some ways where it doesn't?
It feels like a U.S. Open just walking the golf course and off the course. Just the size of the, it's a major. The size of the grandstands, the size of everything that's built around, the amount of people that are in this interview room. It's a major. In some ways, it doesn't, because it's a different golf course. It's a new golf course. I think Chambers Bay felt similar to that, where it wasn't one of the rotation to go-to golf courses that we're going to see in the next foreseeable future. So I was actually thinking about that yesterday out on the course. But I know it's the U.S. Open, and certainly walking and seeing the difficulty, but at the same time, it also kind of felt like it was a really difficult PGA Tour event, just walking through the rough and all that, just because it was a new golf course, not one that I'd watched majors on TV going back or played it myself.
Jordan, how do you feel about a par 5 as a finishing hole in a major championship, either as the leader or as a guy who needs to make up a stroke or 2 on the leader?
Well, it's exciting if it's, I think if it's played the right way, and the right way is subjective, but I think most people would agree that if you have, an option for an eagle and you've got options for, 6, and I think that the 18th hole here can produce both. It's a very difficult green with the prevailing wind, because it's so flat on the green. It actually pitches from the middle of the green to the back, and downwind, if the greens are firm, which it doesn't look like they're going to be, but if they were firm, it leaves an almost impossible shot if you're outside of 120 yards just to hold the green. So trouble lurks on the 18th off the tee. If you hit a good tee ball, you've got the option of going out, playing the angles. You can go towards the green. Depending on where the pin is, that might leave an easier third, or you can take it down the right side. I think it's an exciting finishing hole. I lost my quarterfinal match on it by going bunker to bunker to bunker, and you can do that on that hole. But I think depending on what the wind is doing and what the conditions are of the golf course, I think they'll be able to move tee boxes around there to make it an exciting finishing hole for a major.
Hi, Jordan. Kind of speaking of Chambers Bay, where you were a couple years ago, can you give us a tee to green comparison of that golf course and this one? And then considering all the new U.S. Open courses you guys are playing lately, do you think somewhere like Chambers deserves a second chance to host?
Well, I certainly wouldn't mind a second chance at Chambers. Tee to green, still very different. Tee boxes, looking at your target, I see some similarities. But other than that, off the sides of the fairways and the way the rough is here versus the lack of rough that we have there, the fescue even plays different in the two. Chambers was a much easier driving golf course, and I thought it was more of a bomber's paradise at Chambers Bay.
Or these beans down out here?
Yeah, I just haven't putted well this week. It's just been an off putting week for me. Searching for it, but just haven't quite figured it out. The marriage of the line and the speed.
It's just Jordan in general been one of your most kind of frustrating spells. I mean, a lot of weeks you played really well, and the results haven't really reflected that in the last couple of months.
I've been striking the ball well. Just been trying to figure it out on and around the greens, and it's I feel like once the can gets open, then I'll start pouring them in. It's just trying to get it open, trying to have a round where I started feeling. I had a couple rounds of Colonial like that where I really started feeling like I was seeing the lines, I was confident into it, and had knew going into it that he was either going to go in or be close to going in. And out here, I'm just thinking a lot about my stroke, stance, and stuff that you don't want to be thinking about. You'd rather be thinking about line and pace. But I can't do that yet because I'm not quite yet figured out the other part. So, frustrating in that regard. But, today was an off day. Pitchers have good days and bad days, and I took an L today and come back tomorrow and try and finish this round strong and go into next week.
Do you have a feel for how it will be condition-wise for the leaders this afternoon? Will it be gettable?
The conditions allow you to have plenty of opportunities, but the pin positions or the defense, and they're very difficult. It's actually really tough. I would say on half the holes today, almost impossible to be below the hole. So you're going to get some kind of odd putts and where you really got to watch the pace. Because if you are below the hole, it kind of funnels off the green. So there's quite a few holes today where that's tough, but off the tee, the guys that are playing well, that are hitting fairways, you can still put it on the safe sides of greens, and I think you'll see, the score move from 7 under. I think you'll see it move closer to 10 after today, just given the conditions.
Jordan, has your idea of how to play this golf course evolved over the last few days that you've done a couple of rounds in it, or is it what you thought it was going to be?
No, I think it is what we felt like it was going to be. Kind of figured, going into the week, I think I mentioned it out loud, if not to you guys, I mentioned it to our team, but I thought it was going to be somewhere around 10 under for the winning score. And I'm pretty sure I voiced that to y'all as well. And with that being said, that's pretty much what's happening. So I would say that's about what we thought we needed to do. Relatively generous off the tee. Shots in the greens you gotta be careful with, and pick your spots to take advantage. And when you get behind, you have to try and force some, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, and it just didn't work out for me today.
Surprised by kind of how the collective struggle the top 10 players have been here at Erin Hills?
No, I think it's just that's random. I think it's just happened to be the case. There's a lot of fantastic players who've been playing well this entire year that are up on the first page of the leaderboard, and guys who have been playing well recently. So it's kind of a good form course. If you're in good form, that's going to stay here. It's not, it's pretty, hit the fairway, and then from there you can feed it to some of the pins and other holes you got to be careful on. So if you have good control of the golf ball, and most importantly, if you're rolling the ball well on the greens, then you're going to play well here. And so it's not like it's, I don't think it's anything with the course setup that has anything to do with world rankings, because it's really just who's been playing well.
You played Jordan as an amateur and did well. Last I saw, Scotty Scheffler was 4 under for the day. Tied for 14th. Can you speak of the difficulty in doing that as an amateur?
Yeah, it's the stage more than anything. Which Scotty last year was in the top 10 for a lot of the tournament at a much more difficult venue. And I've grown up knowing and playing with Scotty, and to me, it doesn't surprise me necessarily. It might surprise others when they see an A on the leaderboard. But he's certainly capable of doing that, and I'm not trying to take anything away from what he's doing and saying so. I'm actually trying to compliment him in the sense that he's always been capable of doing that. I think it's great. I think it's awesome, and certainly wish him the best to continue. I think he's 4 on the day. And you can push it. The last 5 holes here, you've got the pins on 14 and 15 are certainly birdie holes, and then 16, if you can carve one in there on the back shelf, you can get a very makeable putt. So 17 and 18 are playing tough. The course was longer today, the longest that it's been. But Scotty's he has the length and certainly the confidence to continue this.
Had any effect on your putting?
No, it's actually been similar this entire year.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I've been very average compared to. It's been my least productive year on the greens thus far. But at some point, I'm going to have a least productive year on the greens in the course of a 30-year career. So it happens to be the first half of this year, and I can turn it around, then that'd be great.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.